Landmark is celebrating a milestone of its own. The Capitol Jewish Museum's historic synagogue turns 150 this year. And as our Terry Hornstein shows us, all these years later, the building offers a window into the history of the Jewish people and the enduring promise of religious freedom in America.
On a rainy day in July of 1987, native Washingtonian Sandy Perlman walked down the aisle inside this now 150-year-old synagogue.
It was magical.
Her great-grandfather belonged to the congregation for more than 50 years.
It was cool. I could really think about my great-grandparents.
Collections curator Jonathan Edelman says the history inside these walls is far-reaching for Sandy and for the city as a whole.
This building has lived many lives. So it was built at the corner of 6th and G Streets Northwest in 1876. It served as a very modest, small synagogue for this congregation from 1876 until 1908.
When the congregation outgrew it, the building took on a string of new lives. It would house a church, a motorcycle shop, grocery stores, a barber shop, even a barbecue pork carryout restaurant. In 1969, plans for the metro put the synagogue in the path of demolition until the Jewish community went to Congress to save it.
WMATA in DC said, we won't tear it down, but it can't stay here. So in December 1969, they cut the first floor of the building off, threw it on a set of wheels, and drove it down G Street from 6th Street to 3rd Street.
The synagogue would move again in 2016 and then once again in 2019.
It was literally a man with an iPad driving the synagogue down the street.
Its journey mirrors the history Sandy says the museum is trying to preserve.
We care about our history. You know, we care about our ancient history, and we also care about our modern history and our history in this community.
The building found its permanent home on 3rd and F Streets Northwest with the museum wrapped around it.
We are following some breaking news in Northwest D.C. In the last hour, we learned that 2 people are dead after a shooting in downtown D.C.
Last year, 2 Israeli embassy employees were killed outside the museum. A permanent plaque now honors them as the Jewish community continues confronting anti-Semitism.
Well, their news reports are awful, and they're very painful. So I think as Jews, we feel that all the time. I mean, it's sort of like, you know, it's an undercurrent in our lives.
As the synagogue celebrates 150 years in the nation's capital, the staff says it's the perfect place to come and learn about tolerance and acceptance.
The first purpose-built synagogue in our nation's capital says a lot about who we can be as a nation, right? That freedom of religion. I think it's a freedom that we're constantly navigating with, but I think, you know, at a time when there is difficulty or maybe misunderstanding of a group, whether it's the Jewish community or any group, a museum is a great entry point.